Welcome to Sunday Night with Old Time Radio, 14 July 2024. We have an interesting mix of programs for you this evening. We begin with your hit parade. The opening number is Praise the Lord and Pass the Ammunition, made popular, I believe, during World War II. We follow with Stars Over Hollywood. Then we have a Western with Hopalong Cassidy. Next is Heartbeat Theater. We have a short episode of Incredible But True. And following this, we have Nightfall, Buried Alive. And we close with Dam Busters, episode 23. After tonight, we'll just have 3 more weeks of Dam Busters. I certainly hope that you're enjoying the program.
From the United States, for the Armed Forces of the United Nations, the Special Service Division of the War Department presents a delayed broadcast of one of America's most popular radio programs, Your Hit Parade.
Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition, and we'll all stay free. Praise the Lord and swing into position. Can't afford to sit around wishing. Praise the Lord, we're all between perdition and the deep blue sea.
Yes, the sky pilot said it. You gotta give him credit for it. Son of a gun, that was he.
Out here, praise the Lord, we're on the mighty mission. All aboard, we're not going fishing. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition, and we'll all stay free.
Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. Can't afford to sit around wishing. Praise the Lord, we're all between perdition and the deep blue sea.
Yes, the sky pilot said it. You got to give him credit for it. Son of a gun, there was he.
Praise the Lord.
Shout and praise the Lord. We're on a mighty mission. All aboard. We're not going fishing. Praise the Lord. Pass the ammunition and we'll all stay free.
Praise the Lord.
Shout and praise the Lord. We're on a mighty mission. All aboard. We're not going fishing. Praise the Lord. Pass the ammunition and we'll all be free.
Well, friends, that was your singing star, Barry Wood, raising the curtain on your hit parade with this week's 8th ranking song. Now, that leaves 9 more of your favorites to be sung and played by Barry, Joan Edwards, the Hit Paraders, Mark Warnow, and the Lucky Strike Orchestra. But now your hit parade carries on with the grand ballad that holds down 6th place tonight. Here's Joan Edwards to sing, I Had the Craziest Dream.
I never dreamt it could be. Yes, there you were in love found your lips close to mine, so I kissed you, and you didn't mind it at all. When I'm awake, such a break never happens. How long can a gal go on dreaming? If there's a chance that you care, then please say you do, baby. Say it and make my craziest dream come true.
Number 9. This beautiful ballad continues its hit parade career to finish the week in 9th place. The hit paraders are in to sing Dearly Beloved.
Beloved, how clearly I see. Somewhere in heaven you were fashioned for me. In your eyes knew you. In your heart that led me to. Nothing could save me. Fate gave me a sign. I know that I'll be your sunshine or shine. So I say, dearly, dearly beloved, be mine.
Place winner. The song that holds down the halfway position tonight, Joan Edwards comes in to sing the tune with the number 5 rating, When the Lights Go On Again.
again all over the world. And rain or snow is all that may fall from the skies above. A kiss won't mean goodbye, but hello to love. When the lights go on again all over the world, and the ship will sail again all over the world, then we'll have time for things like wedding rings, and sweethearts will sing when the lights go on again all over the world.
A new tune that really came up with a rush. Barry Wood sings the romantic ballad you put in fourth place tonight, Moonlight Becomes You.
Moonlight becomes you, it goes with your hair. You certainly know the right thing to wear. Moonlight becomes you, I'm thrilled as a child, and I could get so romantic tonight. You're all dressed up to go dreaming. Now don't tell me I'm wrong. And what a night to go dreaming. Mind if I tag along? If I say I love you, I want you to know it's not just because there's moonlight, although moonlight becomes your soul.
Lucky 7 winner is a tune that's been a natural all the way, and it's still going strong. The hit paraders are in to take the musical measure of Mr. 5 by 5.
Comes Mr. 555. He's one of those big bad bouncing boys. Solid as a DuPont. Mr. 555. He's 5 feet tall and he's 5 feet wide. He don't measure no more from head to toe than he do from side to side. Mr. 555. Got 15 chins and a lot of jive. He's a mellow old cat, a real head He'd be Mr. 555. That man can really jump it for a fat man. The only trouble is there's no way of knowing whether he's coming on or going. Mr. 555. He's really plump on the solid side. He don't shake it no more from head to toe than he do from side to side. For the Hit Parade's 3 top tunes of the week, the win, place, and show tunes from coast to coast. And we're leading off with number 3 as Joan Edwards sings the 3rd place winner, Why Don't You Fall in Love with Me?
Don't you fall in love with me? You're driving me crazy, baby, trying to guess. Will you tell me no or will you tell me yes? You gotta go overboard for someone someday. Believe it or not, it's bound to be. As long as you're not in love with anyone else, why don't you fall in love with me?
song, number 2. After a sensational career in which it smashed all previous hit parade records at number 1, this tune rides in this week at number 2. Here's Barry Wood to sing a great ballad that's in second place tonight, White Christmas.
Treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas with every Christmas card I write. May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white. Number 1, from the four corners of America, where your hit parade survey checks the musical preferences of you and especially you, comes word of a new champion this week. Yes, here's the song that made the top of the heap in just 5 weeks. The hit paraders sing your favorite, your first place favorite from coast to coast. There are such things.
to whisper, darling, you're my guiding star. Not caring what you own, but just what you are.
A peaceful sky,
Such things.
a rainbow high,
Where heaven sings. So have a little faith and trust in what tomorrow brings. You'll reach a star because there are such things.
You have just heard a delayed broadcast scheduled expressly at this time for the Armed Forces of the United Nations by the Special Service Division of the War Department of the United States of America. This program has been a part of our English language shortwave service.
This is Angela Lansbury with a welcome to Stars Over Hollywood, presented by Carnation Evaporated Milk. And here is your host for Carnation, Art Ballinger.
Welcome to Hollywood, home and workshop of the world's most glamorous people. Each week, Stars Over Hollywood presents in person the world's greatest stars. Actors you've seen in motion pictures and heard on radio. Such famous names as Joan Crawford, Cornel Wilde, Anita Louise. Today, Carnation, the world's favorite brand of evaporated milk, brings you transcribed a star who is currently appearing in the King Brothers Technicolor production, Mutiny. Angela Lansbury. The story, The Experiment. Ladies, when you buy milk, remember that no other kind of milk has as many uses as Carnation.
Carnation for cooking.
Carnation for coffee.
Carnation for baby feeding.
Yes, Carnation is truly an all-purpose milk. You can use it just like cream because undiluted Carnation, as it pours from the can, has the consistency of good, rich cream. And there's cream in every drop. And when you need milk, double-rich Carnation mixed with an equal amount of water gives you milk that's richer than your state standard for bottled milk. Yet amazingly enough, Carnation costs a lot less than bottled milk and less than half as much as cream. So it's a fact. No other kind of milk has as many uses as Carnation. No other kind of milk is so economical. Why not stock up on Carnation evaporated milk the next time you shop? And now, Act One of The Experiment, starring Angela Lansbury in the role of Margaret. A cold rain falls on the great gray prison. Armed guards silently shepherd a taut-faced young man from his cell toward the warden's office. Meantime, in that office, the warden is differing sharply with the attractive woman who is his visitor.
And I repeat, Dr. Galloway, that you're risking your life in this experiment.
You have the governor's authorization, Warden.
Yes, I know. And if the circumstances were a little different...
Meaning you expected a man?
When I was told that Dr. Galloway would arrive this morning to choose a prisoner for an important medical experiment, why, naturally,
I'm sorry to have disappointed you.
Oh, it's not that. I'm considering the danger to which you're exposing yourself.
I assure you, Warden, that I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself.
In ordinary things, yes. But this prisoner you want for your experiment is a murderer, convicted of cold-blooded first-degree murder. His sentence is 99 years. Lots of people think he should have gotten the chair.
Terry Risden. I remember the case vaguely.
Yeah, the guards are bringing him here now.
We'll have police protection at the laboratory during the experiment.
If you'd worked here, where we could give you real
Oh,
protection...
it's impossible. I must have access to my own laboratory, my own apparatus. I'm too close now to let anything stop me.
If there were another prisoner who'd qualify...
You only had 2 volunteers, and the other man was much too old.
Your instructions were so explicit. The subject's chances of pulling through are so slim.
Actually, I've every confidence in my treatment. But I wanted the risk clearly understood.
In Risden's case, serving a 99-year sentence, he's got little to lose. Oh, here they are. Come in.
They said you were ready to see me.
That's right, Risden. Come in. All right, Sullivan, I'll take over now.
They said this Dr. Galloway was here.
I am. You must be Terry Risden?
You're the doctor that's making this experiment?
Yes.
Well, they didn't tell me it was a woman.
I hope that doesn't prejudice you against the experiment.
Prejudice me? No, why should it? Makes no difference to me who's in charge.
Warden, I wonder if I might talk to Mr. Risden alone for a few minutes.
Well, all right. I'll be just outside.
You won't mind answering a few questions, will you?
Even if I do mind, what difference does that make? I'm your property from now on, Doctor.
Would you mind telling me why you volunteered?
I can't see that it makes any difference.
You knew this was a dangerous experiment, that you might not live through it. And still...
You can be quite a gambler, Doctor, when you've nothing to lose.
You've been here a long time.
A little over a year. Just 98 to go.
If we're successful, Mr. Risden, this can mean a great deal to a great many people.
That's great.
Have you ever known anyone who suffered from a rare blood disease?
No, I can't say that I have. I guess it must be pretty bad.
It is. I've worked a long time on this experiment. It means a great deal to me.
When will we be leaving?
In a few minutes. Mr. Risden, the warden seems to feel that I should be apprehensive about you. He thinks you're a dangerous man.
The warden should know.
Personally, I have every confidence in you, Mr. Riston.
I'm glad you do, Doctor. I'm glad you do.
This is the laboratory, Mr. Riston. Your room is here. Sorry about the bars on the windows.
Oh, don't be. I'd missed them if they weren't there.
We'll want to start early in the morning. I have to break down the blood cells before I can make my tests.
Doctor, just one thing.
Yes?
Thanks
Thanks?
for treating me like a human being. It hasn't happened for almost 2 years. In the car coming here, I almost forgot that Well, anyhow, you're all right.
In the laboratory here, we're two people doing a very big job, Mr. Riston. That's all. What you've done before or haven't done in the past doesn't matter. Succeeding is all that matters.
You won't believe me, but I've got to say this. I didn't commit that murder they sentenced me for. It sounds ridiculous to say it, but I was framed.
You shouldn't have assumed that I wouldn't believe you.
I don't know exactly why, but I just had to tell you that.
Well, I'm glad. Do you know who did kill the man?
I know. A very smart gentleman named Piper. Tony Piper. He owns a nightclub uptown. He got rid of Weeks and me at the same time.
Weeks was the murdered man?
Yes, that's right. There was someone who could have... Now, that doesn't matter anymore.
Well, I'm glad you told me. I would have asked, but I wasn't sure.
I saw the lights in here.
Oh, Susan, come on in. Mr. Riston, this is Susan Brown, my new laboratory assistant.
Susan Brown? I'm glad to know you.
How do you do, Mr. Riston?
Tomorrow we start on the big job. I'll see both of you then. Coming, Susan?
Well, I just want to check this one culture, Doctor. I'll lock up.
All right. See you in the morning.
Terry. Oh, Terry.
What are you doing here? What did she mean you were her assistant?
Well, I read you'd volunteered that they were bringing you here. I've been working as a nurse and I'll have it seem like a chance to help. But
Aren't you a little late with your help, Sue?
Terry, I was wrong. I know it now. Please don't look at me like that.
The doctor doesn't know that you're my sister.
No. Terry, why wouldn't you see me at the prison?
What does it matter now? It's all finished.
It's not. Terry, I divorced Tony. I want to help you. Please.
What can you do? This place is surrounded by cops.
Some way I'll manage it. Some way I'll get you out of here, Terry. I promise.
Sure a lousy floor show you got here now, Tony. Real lousy.
Thanks for the free criticism. The paying customers like it. Close the door.
Yeah. You know, never was a drawing tad like Sue. Too bad you and her washed
I
up.
was sick of it. After the trial, she got on my nerves.
Oh, speaking of the trial, what is I read in the papers that they let Terry Risden out of prison?
What are you talking about?
Well, now don't tell me Tony Piper's still jumpy about the frame he built for his brother-in-law.
You got a great sense of humor, Pete. Maybe I should use you in my floor show.
Well, Risden volunteered for some sort of medical experiment they're working on at the Patterson Clinic.
He's here in town, then, huh?
Very risky experiment, seems like. They asked for volunteers at the prison, and Risden spoke up.
Risky, you say?
The guinea pig may not pull through.
Maybe this doctor will do what the state wouldn't. Finish Risden off for me.
It sure would be great. Well, not that you got anything to worry about, even as it is.
As long as Risden's alive, Pete, there's always a chance, and I don't like chances. I prefer sure things. I like the way you handle those instruments, Doctor. Give a man the impression that you really know what you're doing.
Well, I have your confidence at least, Terry. Now, if I can just do as good a job on the medical world...
I guess some of the boys don't think you're on the right track, huh?
A great many don't. It's not a simple problem. And the fact that I'm a woman... Terry, The breakdown is complete in your blood cells now.
So all you have to do now is cure me. I think you can do it.
Thanks. What did you do before?
Me? I was a reporter. I went in for exposés.
And that's how you happened to get into trouble?
That's right. Someone I knew worked for Piper. I was sure he was using that nightclub as sort of a front. Just when I was beginning to get some evidence, I found myself standing over Ed Week's body with a gun in my hand. Unfortunately, Ed and I had had a few words not long before, so it was the perfect frame.
And you think that Piper killed Weeks?
I know he did. All the evidence against me was circumstantial, was planted. So Piper got rid of Weeks and me.
Have you appealed?
I appealed. My appeal was denied. Margaret, you believe me, don't you? You really believe me?
Yes. Yes, I do.
I've no right to tell you this. We were going to keep the past out of the laboratory, weren't we?
Sometimes it's not as easy to control an experiment as we'd like it to be.
If you can believe me, Margaret, there's hope.
Of course there's hope. Why, after you're well again...
If I'm well again.
I believe in you. Can't you return the compliment?
If you knew how much I've come to believe in you, to count on you.
Together, Terry, we can clear you. I know we can.
Together.
But now we've got to make you well again. That's first. Giving you back your health. I have to go back to the hospital this afternoon, Susan. You're to keep hourly records of Mr. Risden's pulse, temperature, and blood pressure.
Yes, Dr. Galloway.
How are we doing, Doctor?
Well, it is slower than I thought. Too early, really, to tell, I guess.
I don't feel so good.
You just rest. Call me at the hospital if there's any marked change.
Yes, Doctor.
Remember, Susan, hourly records. That data will be very important later.
I'll remember, Doctor. Terry.
She might hear you.
Terry, I think I can get you out of here. After 6 o'clock, there are only 2 policemen, O'Brien in back and Schwartz in the front.
So?
Well, I've played up to O'Brien. I take him hot coffee every night. Now, when the time comes, I'll put something in his coffee.
No, it wouldn't work, Sue. Just forget it.
Can't forget it. Terry, I know what I did to you. I should have testified at the trial, but Tony wouldn't let me. I could have saved you. Please forgive me, Tony.
Now, don't cry, Sue. You were only a scared kid.
I'll smuggle you a gun, too. We ought to try it Saturday at the latest. O'Brien may be shifted next week.
See, this is Tuesday. Sue, I may not be able to go. The experiment shouldn't work. I'm so weak now.
Terry, if we don't try it Saturday, there may not be another chance.
Dr. Galloway said she'd try to help me.
She says that now, but what could she do? You've got to take this chance when it comes, Terry. Saturday night.
Saturday night.
And so the curtain falls on the first act of today's radio drama, The Experiment, starring Angela Lansbury and brought to you by Carnation Evaporated Milk. Before we return to the second act, here's Carnation's Home Service Director, Mary Blake, to tell you how to make Memorial Day a day more to be remembered than ever. Mary?
Thank you, Art. Mine is a picnic suggestion, naturally, because Memorial Day is a great day for picnics, as everybody knows. And a great dish for picnics is fried chicken.
Make mine crispy and tender, Mary.
That's something we'll leave to Carnation, Art. Because the best way to get a crisp outside crust on fried chicken, and at the same time keep the inside moist and tender, is to prepare it with Carnation evaporated milk.
Sounds simple.
All you do is to dip the chicken in 1/2 cup undiluted Carnation, then in a 1/2 cup seasoned cornmeal.
1/2 cup Carnation and 1/2 cup cornmeal. And fry in the usual way, I suppose.
That's right, Art. And it's the quickest way I know to have delicious fried chicken.
Delicious, friends, because there's no other kind of milk quite like Carnation evaporated milk. Carnation is more than double rich, so it adds richness to any recipe. And Carnation is heat refined, which means smoother blending with other ingredients.
And there's no better proof of Carnation's superiority in cooking than in fried chicken made the Carnation way. I hope you'll try it for your Memorial Day picnic.
Yes, friends, by all means, try Carnation in your fried chicken batter, as Mary Blake suggests. The delicious results will convince you that Carnation performs cooking miracles not possible with any other kind of milk. Get in the habit of cooking regularly with Carnation, the milk from contented cows. We return now to the second act of The Experiment, starring Angela Lansbury in the role of Margaret Galloway.
How does it look, Margaret?
I think that we're beginning to make a little progress. I should know by late Thursday night or Friday morning.
Good. I'll know by Saturday. One way or the other. Won't we?
We'll know by then. Terry, if we should succeed, I may have another favor to ask you.
Oh?
At the hospital, there's a child, a little girl. She isn't expected to live. All the specialists have been consulted, and they've given up. It's the same blood disease. If you react favorably, and if we could then give her a transfusion, she might have a chance. Just a fighting chance.
Transfusion.
The process is still so slow, I wouldn't have the time to treat her as I have you. But if through a transfusion we could gain a little time...
It might save her life.
It might. Look, I've no right to ask this of you, Terry. And I'm not even sure that the child's parents will allow it.
You can count on me, Margaret.
I've been thinking about you, Terry. I mean, what we can do after.
Say, how did anyone as pretty as you ever end up in a laboratory, anyway?
Oh, it's a long story. I was very much in love once.
Oh?
He died. He had a blood disease.
I see.
Things like that shape our lives.
Because the man you loved died. Other people, thousands of them maybe, will get a chance to live. Whatever happens, this being here with you, it's done something for me.
Done something?
I came here fed up with the world. I knew there wasn't any decent human being alive. Whatever happens to be now, I've got a fresh slant on things.
I'm glad, Terry. I guess I'd better check that pulse.
Hi, Tony. What's the matter with you, Pete? What's the idea of busting in on me like this? Look, I found out where your ex-wife is. What do I care where Sue is now? She can't do me any harm. Yeah, that's what you think. She's working at laboratory where they got a brother. What? Those two are together? Yeah. I thought he wouldn't speak to her. She'll probably try to help him make a break. And if he gets out, you know who we'll want to see first. Where is this clinic they got risen? On River Drive. Pretty far out. You want to come with me? Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm going to personally see that Risden doesn't make a break.
How are you feeling, Terry?
Stronger. I think I'm just weak from being off my feet for so long.
Terry, I just talked to the parents of that child. They'll take the chance if you will.
You mean the transfusion?
I shouldn't have asked you to do it, but she's an only child. She can't live 24 hours unless...
This is Saturday.
Yes. It's almost 8.
8?
Yes. I can be back with the child in an hour. It's up to you, Terry.
All right. I'll do it.
Oh, Terry. You're such a wonderful person. Just rest until I get back. I'll be an hour at the most.
Okay, Margaret. Oh, what am I going to do? I can't walk out on her and the little girl. What am I going to do?
Terry, she's gone. Not my chance.
You've given the cop that stuff?
He'll be asleep in another 5 minutes. But we've got to hurry. I don't know how long it lasts.
She's gone after the little girl. The one who needs a transfusion.
Not thinking of staying.
She's counting on me.
You'll never get another chance. Once the policeman comes to, we're finished. We've got to hurry.
She'd understand. I've got to think of myself.
It doesn't matter whether she understands or not. Here's a gun. Now hurry. I'll help you. Every second counts, Terry. Every second.
No, I can't walk out on Margaret and the little girl. I just can't do it.
You're in love with her, aren't you?
Yes. But that's only part of it.
The biggest part. Look, Terry, if she loves you, she'd want you to save yourself. Now, please.
It's no use. I can't run away from this, Sue. I'd never be able to forget that she counted on me and I let her down.
Well, you're so weak, we probably couldn't have made it anyway.
Maybe after the
Oh,
transfusion.
that policeman won't sleep forever.
Well, I'm sorry, Sue. I suppose I'm a fool, but it's the way it is.
When I should have helped you, I didn't. And now when I try to help, you won't let me. Oh, Terry, they'll take you back from there.
Margaret thinks we'd have a chance of reopening the case.
Well, I tried. At least I tried.
Of course you did. We're all square, Sue. You've got no reason to blame yourself anymore.
Someone just came in.
She must be back with the little girl.
Dr. Galloway?
Not exactly, baby, not exactly.
Tony!
Piper, Perfetti.
That's right. Now, ain't this a picture, Tony? Been missing you at the club, Sue. But I can't say I've missed your newspaper articles, Rick.
How did you two get in here?
Since you doped the cop, we decided to come in and pay a little social call. Yeah, we thought you two might be planning a trip.
Well, you thought wrong.
Why else would you dope the cop? You had it all figured out, didn't you, Risden? You were going to get out of here and even things with me with the help of my pretty ex-wife.
Tony.
I did plan a break, but I changed my mind.
When you saw this gun in my hand?
No, before you came in.
I got news for you, Risden. You and Sue are going to be found dead right here in this laboratory.
No, Tony.
How do you figure that, Piper?
I'm going to blast you. Only when the cops find you, they're going to see it as a suicide pact. They'll know Sue's your sister, figure she sneaked a gun into you, and that you killed her and yourself rather than go back to prison.
Another frame-up, eh, Piper? Even better than before.
What was that? I didn't hear anything. Yeah, that's right, Terry. Another frame. Fits you even better than the last one. That cop out there will know Sue drugged him. It's perfect. Both of you will be out of my way permanently.
How long do you think you can keep this up, Piper? Framing people, I mean.
There'll be no questions asked this time.
There weren't many asked the last time, when you shot Weeks.
Not many people knew I had such a good reason for killing Weeks.
And then you were very smart about trapping me.
I had such good bait. I knew you wouldn't want anything to happen to Sue.
You won't get away with this, Tony. There's a policeman on the front door. When he hears the shot...
When he hears the shot, he'll come running in and find the two of you dead, the gun in Riston's hand, and me and Pete will be long gone. Come on, Tony, we better get with it. Cop ain't gonna sleep forever. Yeah, right. Sorry to do this, baby. If you'd played it Tony's way...
Put that gun down, Tony.
There isn't got a gun.
Keep down, Stu, down! Get your hands up. What?
Cop. Peter, you hurt.
My shoulder. All right, let's have those guns. Back against the wall, you.
Terry, Susan, are you all right?
Sure. We're all right. Pete's the only one that got hurt. So where did you come from?
Well, I came in the back entrance and found O'Brien. I brought him around, and he and I got Schwartz. We heard everything.
You heard what Piper said about the frame-up?
Yes.
I'd better call a squad car and an ambulance.
Oh, I'm so glad I smuggled that gun.
Yeah. Saved our lives.
You were going to break our pen.
I never intended to, Margaret.
It was my idea. You see, Dr. Galloway, I'm Terry's sister.
Did you bring the little girl?
Yes, but are you sure that you
Let's
want...
go, Margaret. I'm ready.
When Dr. Margaret Galloway concluded the presentation of evidence, the entire association rose as a man to give her a resounding ovation. When this tireless doctor's experiments were translated into practical techniques, it will mean the saving of scores of lives yearly. The entire civilized world might well join the association in its tribute to Dr. Galloway.
Satisfied?
Completely. Recognition of my work, beautifully reported to the public by the man I love.
Considering I'm a little rusty, I thought it was a pretty well-written story.
As my husband dear, you'll forget gangsters and racketeers and concentrate on microbes and sciences.
You're the doctor.
What a wonderful conclusion to the most successful experiment of my career.
Not the conclusion, darling. Only the beginning.
so the curtain comes down on the final act of The Experiment. This week's Stars Over Hollywood show is presented by Carnation Evaporated Milk and starring Angela Lansbury. In just a moment, we'll have news about next week's show. Meantime, how about a curtain call, Angela?
Well, I'd like that very much, Art.
And, Angela, this might be a very good time to take a second bow as the mother of a new and healthy baby boy, 4-month-old Anthony Peter Shaw.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it, Art, because I would have otherwise. My husband and I are so completely delighted we can talk of nothing else.
Well, that's natural enough, Angela. As with any new parents, you find that baby is the most important element in your life. And for that very reason, I'm sure you're starting young Anthony off on Carnation Evaporated Milk.
We are.
So many mothers do these days. After all, there's no finer milk you can give a baby than Carnation. With all the growing there is to be done, babies certainly can use Carnation's wonderful supply of milk minerals and vitamin D. Bones and teeth, you know. And besides that, Carnation is ever so easy on babies' delicate digestive systems. Doubly safe, too. Carnation is pasteurized and then sterilized after the can is sealed. So, all in all, it's really no wonder 8 out of 10 mothers who use Carnation say their doctor recommended it. It's definitely the milk every doctor knows. Angela, yours was truly a great performance today. And in appreciation, we'd like you to have something that holds special significance for any Carnation mother, this bouquet of red and white carnations, just like those pictured on every can of Carnation Evaporated Milk.
Why, Art, they're simply beautiful. Thank you. And, Art, I'd like to take this opportunity to remind you young girls listening that there's a career of great interest and service waiting for you as an armed forces or civilian nurse. Inquire at your nearest hospital or collegiate school of nursing the very first chance you get. Now, may I ask what you have planned for next week's show?
Well, our star on next Saturday's Stars Over Hollywood show will be Anita Louise.
That's wonderful. And the story?
It's a dramatic play about a girl who has 2 separate personalities and finds the way to decide between them. The title is Moonlight Sonata.
Sounds good. I won't miss it. And now, goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, Angela Lansbury. The story on today's Stars Over Hollywood was written by John McGreevy. Supporting Miss Lansbury were David Ellis, Lillian Baeff, Bill Conrad, Tony Barrett, and Joe Duvall. Music was composed and conducted by Rex Corey, and the program was transcribed and directed by Don Clark. Ladies, when you shop for groceries today, be sure to have Carnation, the world's favorite brand of evaporated milk, on your shopping list. No other kind of milk has as many uses as Carnation.
Carnation for cooking.
Carnation for coffee.
Carnation for baby feeding.
Good, good, good. For milk that's extra good, you should get the brand that's called Carnation. Rich, rich, rich. For milk that's creamy rich, you should get the brand that's called Carnation.
And now for the Carnation Company and Stars Over Hollywood, this is Art Ballinger suggesting that you be sure to see the George Burns and Gracie Allen television show, brought to you by Carnation Evaporated Milk. Tune in every Saturday and hear the world's greatest motion picture stars in person on Stars Over Hollywood. Next Saturday, we are proud to present Anita Louise in Moonlight Sonata. Stay tuned now for Grand Central Station, which follows immediately over most of these stations. Stars Over Hollywood comes to you from our Hollywood studios and is heard in Canada over the Dominion Network of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
It's Hopalong Cassidy. With action and suspense out of the Old West comes the most famous hero of them all, Hopalong Cassidy, starring William Boyd. The jingle of the silver spurs heralds that fabulous figure of the early West, Hopalong Cassidy. The same Hoppy you cheer in motion pictures with the same California you've laughed at 100 times in your local theater. These famous partners come riding into radio just as you've asked for them. William Boyd as Hopalong Cassidy and Andy Clyde as California. Now here they are in the exciting story, The Rainmaker of Eagle Nest Mountain.
Hoppy, I never figured it would happen like this. You thinking of deserting the bar 20 to settle down in a spot like Eagle Nest sure surprises me.
California, I always said I'd find a quiet place and kind of retire, didn't I? I got a hunch Eagle Nest is it.
I'll bet it don't even show on the map. Of all the local ideas I ever heard, this is it. Hoppy, maybe you ain't the man I thought you were.
Nah, maybe not.
I always figured you'd die with your boots on, not out in the desert swatting flies.
A man needs some peace and quiet once in a while. You know, a chance to sort of hibernate.
It's bears what do that, not humans. Uh-oh. Look at this. A reward poster. Maybe Eagle Nest ain't so dead as I thought.
$50 reward for Lou Jackson, the sheriff at Eagle Nest.
Cheapskate sheriff. If I was that Lou Jackson, I'd get plenty score. Lumping me off at a price like that. Say, what do you say, Hoppy? Won't hurt to pick up a quick 50, huh?
No, California. I just want to settle down.
But, well. Hey, Hoppy, look over there in that bush. Another one of them reward posters. $100 for the capture of Bud Bloom.
I'm not interested.
But you sure can throw money away. Look at 2 more notices painted in them rocks. Must be plenty of trouble around here. Says $500 award for Griff Jessup.
I told you I'm not interested.
But gosh, Hoppy, that ain't alfalfa. Who's shooting at us? We ain't done nothing.
Come from over toward that mountain. Maybe it's somebody shooting at a rabbit.
I may have a funny pair of ears, but I ain't no rabbit. Hoppy, it's just natural for a man like you to want to clean out these parts.
Well, either somebody aim was awful bad or we aren't the target.
Listen, I judge that must be the target coming up the trail now.
Come on, let's get out of sight.
There he goes. There he goes now.
Are your eyes really that bad?
Huh?
That's no he, it's a she, and a very young she.
Well, darn to be damned. Why dagnab them dirty...
California.
Taking pot shots at a gal. Let's see if this'll tone them down a bit.
Oh, she's out of range now, so you can relax.
What do you say we get out of range then? We ain't get much cover here.
You know, I don't like that shooting at a woman. Maybe we had better have a little talk with this advertising sheriff in Eagle Nest.
Oh, you're talking like the old Hoppy. And I can use some of that reward money for a new pair of boots.
Well, come on, then.
Back to Hopalong Cassidy and the story of the Rainmaker of Eagle Nest Mountain. Hoppy and California have ridden into Eagle Nest and find there's not much of a town to welcome them.
The Eagle Nest sure looks like a good place to feel lonesome in.
Here's an eating house. Bud Bloom's place. How about a cup of coffee?
Did you say Bud Bloom?
Well, that's what it says over the door.
But Hoppy, that's the lunk that was worth $100, remember? Here's our first reward money.
Well, let's have a look. Howdy.
Hello.
Mr. Bloom?
That's right. What can I do for you?
Tell him to throw his hands up quick, Hoppy.
Shh, not so fast. Been in this town long, Mr. Bloom?
Almost 10 years.
Get him, Hoppy, quick.
Ever hear of Lou Jackson?
Why, sure. He owns that barber shop over there.
You get him, Hoppy, and I'll go after the hair clipper.
Don't be so fast, California. There's something funny about all this. Mr. Bloom, did you ever hear of a fellow named Griff Jessup?
Of course. He runs the Buckhorn Bar across the street. Why?
Is that so?
Oh, this is going to be handy-dandy. Get 'em all in 5 minutes. It'll bring us about, let me see.
But California, these are all prominent men in this town.
I ain't interested in the social standing. It's the price they'll bring.
I've got a hunch. You wait here. I'll be back in a few minutes. And don't do anything.
But, Hoppy, no, wait a minute. Gosh darn it. Spoiling my easy money. Hey, you, Bloom?
Yeah?
Cup of java.
Coming right up.
Well, hello, Bud.
Well, howdy, Griff. What'll it be?
Oh, spaghetti, I guess. Did he call you Griff?
Well, sure.
Griff Jessup?
That's right.
That settles it. A man can just stand so much temptation. Get your mitts in the air, you two.
What do you mean by that?
Get 'em up quick, I said.
Well, now, if it's money...
It's money, all right. Reward money. I seen your ugly mugs tacked up to a tree just out of town.
Oh, those posters. Why, you leather-headed fool. Don't pay no attention to them.
That's all a gag.
I'm laughing, all right. Mostly at the thought of that $600.
You'll be sorry for this, Big Ears.
Get moving, Fatty, towards the sheriff's house. Huh? This is the easiest money I ever made.
Well, let's get to walking and get this over with.
Walk? Who said anything about us walking? You do the walking. Get going. I'm getting on my horse, and I'm going to drive you up there just like a bunch of dogies. Oh, boy, if the folks back there in town could only see me now. Oh, get along, little doggie, get along, little doggie. Stop jumping around like that. I've seen wild horses better behave.
I tell you, we ain't gonna forget this.
No, me neither. Got a classy pair of books to remember it by.
Yes?
Howdy, Sheriff. I'm California Carson. I got a dangerous bunch of outlaws here, which you offers a reward for.
What?
Tell this man to turn us loose, Mr. Wetzel.
I'd like a chance to settle
Ain't
this
I
with him.
caned you two down enough yet, or will I slug 'em good, Sheriff?
Untie those men immediately and stop calling me sheriff. My name is Wetzel.
Let those buzzards fly the coop. I'm hanging on to them until I see the sheriff. Then, if you ain't him...
Now, this is ridiculous.
And you're liable to have a long wait for the sheriff. He hasn't been home here in 2 months.
What kind of screwy
The sheriff has been working so consistently and constantly with his rain-making machine that he's grown quite eccentric.
He can grow whatever he wants, as long as he gives me the reward.
Oh, I've argued with you long enough, lout.
Lout?
This gun in my hand says you'd better turn your prisoners loose immediately.
It's about time.
Well, if this ain't that
Better
dog...
do what the man says, California.
Hoppy.
I told you to leave it alone in the first place.
But then reward post.
I've explained to your stupid friend 3 times that it's all a mistake. You see, we have no need of any real law around here, and the citizens just elected Mr. Billington honorary sheriff in view of his great efforts to bring rain to this desert.
And he ain't even a real sheriff?
Oh, of course not. He posts those reward signs constantly, and all the people with intelligence know enough to just smile at them.
I ought to take my $600 out of your hide.
Turn the men loose, California. Our apologies, gentlemen. My friend here was taken in, as you can understand.
Sure. But just keep this bum out of my place. I'll put ant poison in his next cup of java.
Incidentally, my name is Cassidy.
And I'm Wetzel. I came here to work with Mr. Billington on his scientific experiment. I just rode down for supplies. And now, if you'll excuse me...
Rode down?
Yes, the rain-making machine is on the top of Eagle Nest Mountain.
Rain in the desert?
Is that the one with the sharp peak that we passed on the way into town?
Yes, and you mustn't think anything about the shooting you heard. The old man always tries to frighten people away when they come too close.
Well, that's interesting, but I don't believe I mentioned the incident. Did you tell Mr. Wetzel about the shots we heard, California?
I ain't had a chance to tell him nothing. He's too busy doing me out my reward money.
Well, it's just that he usually...
What's the trouble?
Oh, there's no trouble. Get on with your cooking.
All right.
How do you do, miss? I'm Hopalong Cassidy.
Well, hello, Mr. Cassidy. This is a pleasure. I'm Martha Billington.
Hoppy, this is the gal we
You
saw.
must be the rainmaker's daughter.
Yes, my father's working so hard on that experiment.
Must be cozy up there, trying to make it drizzle and shooting at people, even his
Well,
own.
don't let us disturb you, miss. You get right on with your cooking. But don't work too hard. You already look windblown and dusty.
Yes,
Gentlemen, if I may suggest it, you had best be on your way. You've caused enough stupid trouble already nosing into everything.
We've apologized for the trouble, Mr. Wetzel. But we can't help being interested in this great experiment of Mr. Billington. He certainly requires a lot of supplies, doesn't he?
If you're referring to these kegs on the porch, they contain dynamite for the experiment. So you'd better not be around here lighting any matches unless you want to be blown out of town.
Oh, I don't smoke. But you'd better be careful smoking that pipe that's sticking out of your pocket. Might blow your head off and make some people awfully happy.
I warn you, Cassidy, if you persist in nosing around Eagle Nest Mountain, they'll take you out of here in a box.
But I like it around here. Think I might start a little ranch once it commences to rain.
I wish you would, Mr. Cassidy.
Hoppy, do you want me to stake the horses out or cook up some grub?
Oh, while you do the chores, I'm going to slip back to the sheriff's house and try to get word to Miss Martha. You know, I don't like that setup.
Can't blame you. That Wetzel ain't exactly friendly, and that poor gal with her father shooting her off the mountain.
I wouldn't judge him from Wetzel's story. This adds up to trouble, California, but I don't know quite what kind.
And I was afraid you might be settling down. Well, let's see. I know the little man, and he had a little horse, and... Say, what'll it be tonight, Hoppy? Pork and beans, or beans and pork?
Let's have both. And be sure to put a little water in the coffee. I like coffee you can pour.
You insinuating I ain't a good cook? You just can't tell a cup of demi-tassy from a cup of plain coffee.
I'll be back the time it's ready. If I don't get blown back.
Yeah, Hoppy, better take off your spurs. They can hear you a mile.
I never take off my spurs unless I'm going to take off my boots. And I'm not going to take off my boots.
All right, go ahead and be ornery then. But be careful, Hoppy.
Who is it? Father?
It's me, Cassidy.
Oh, hello, Mr. Cassidy. I'm so glad you came back. I wanted to talk with you.
That's what I figured. But don't tell me your father has to sneak around his own house.
Oh, I don't know. He might. He hasn't been the same since Mr. Wetzel came here and offered to help him. Why, now my father stays up on that mountain day and night. Sometimes I get so desperate I try to get up to see him.
And when you do, some mysterious shots are fired at you.
Why, yes. How did you know?
My friend and I are riding into town and saw that little foray this afternoon.
Oh, Mr. Cassidy, they tried to tell me it's my father shooting at me. I just can't believe it.
Don't believe it when it's Wetzel telling you.
I won't stop until I get up to see him. Next time I'll try it at night.
But that might be pretty dangerous.
My father's always been a little preoccupied, and all the years of work he's put in on that rain machine have taxed him, but now he seems to be doing such terrible things.
Like what, miss?
Oh, those reward posters. Why, those men are his friends. And now every week or so there are more of them tacked up on the trail into town.
Have you ever seen him tack them up?
No, I guess he does it at night. And all the men make such light of it. They won't even take them down after he's posted them.
What men?
Oh, Mr. Wetzel's assistant.
How many are there?
3, I think. He says they're metallurgical students. But everything is kept so secret now.
Miss Martha, these kegs of dynamite here on the porch.
Oh, my father's always used it in his experiments, but never so much as this before.
Well, there's nearly a wagon load stacked here now.
They must be getting ready to do something terrible. I'm so afraid my father will get hurt.
Do you mind if I open one of these kegs?
Of course not. But please be careful. I never go near the stuff.
Oh, it's all right. I've handled it before. Well, look at this. White gunpowder.
Why, I didn't know that.
It tastes good, too. Just as sweet as sugar. I wouldn't worry about any explosion with this stuff.
But what's it all about?
I have a hunch, Miss Martha, and if I'm right, California and I are going to have one sweet time tonight.
Before we continue with the exciting story of the Rainmaker of Eagle Nest Mountain, here is a word from your announcer. are making their way up Eagle Nest Mountain to pay a visit to the Rainmaker. But as California's mutterings clearly indicate, he'd rather get into trouble at a more convenient time.
I don't know why these darned emergencies can't wait till we've had our chow. My insides were so empty, even them beans smell good.
Did you tie the horses up good? Topper's pretty frisky tonight.
Sure, but right now I'm wishing I hadn't. If a man was supposed to walk, he would have been born with 4 legs.
Ah, this exercise will do you good.
Ain't there an easier way to get up this mountain?
I was afraid the main trail will be watched too closely. This is a path the jackrabbits have beaten.
Well, I'm all for giving it back to him. Hey, Hoppy, look. See that there thing up on top?
Yeah, that must be the rain-making machine.
Carnation, did you ever see a crazier-looking contraption? Why, the way that big lever's swinging back and forth...
A lot of work has gone into that mechanism, California. Well, they say one generation laughs at what the next generation invents.
Well, I think this is good for a big, long laugh. If it ever brings one drop of rain to this here desert, I'll sit right down and eat the boots off in my feet. Spurs and all.
Well, we haven't much farther to go. We'd better be quiet from here on and stay close to the ground. There appears to be quite some activity around the tower.
Seems there's a rustle from behind the tower. Okay, let's go over and take a look. Hey, wait a minute. There's somebody coming up this front trail. That must be what we heard. Yeah. Well, I can draw a beat on them as they come over this rise. Hey, look. Look through here. Isn't it a woman? Uh-huh. That must be the old man's daughter. Well, don't make no difference, though. Wetzel says to shoot. He said to shoot to scare her. He ain't never said to kill her. Maybe you're right. Let's wait for her right here. I can handle her. Hey, quiet now. There. I guess that's done.
Nicely done, man.
Wetzel. Hello, boss. Didn't know you were around.
I know you didn't. I was following Martha up the trail. I just wanted to wait and see how you'd handle the situation.
We done all right, huh?
Carry her inside the tank, Joe.
Sure, boss. Sure. She don't look this heavy.
Slim, we got to work fast tonight. Martha's been talking. You know what that means.
Yeah.
This has been a good spot, but we've stayed around just about as long as we can. Especially if Cassidy's going to get snoopy.
Cassidy?
Yeah, rancher from the Bar 20. Always going around and getting at everybody's business. So this is how we're going to handle it, Slim. You set the dynamite with fresh caps and see that the old man is locked in the tower until we're ready. And then come and help me load the pack horse.
Hoppy, you hear that? They've set some of the contraption in motion.
Yeah, that wheel is moving. Looks like this means quick action or this whole mountain will blow up. We'd better separate.
We had?
You're not afraid, are you?
No, I just wanted to be around to take care of you.
I'll try to manage. Now, you go around behind the tower and see if you can find some back stairs that might not be guarded. I'm sure the old man must be up there.
Then where'll I find you?
I don't think you'll have any trouble. In a few minutes, I have a hunch it'll be easy to find where I am.
Oh, gosh, I hope that contraption don't go off while we're up here in the mountain. Because then it might start to rain and me without my overshoes.
Well, you can always take off your hat and soak your head. Looks like we've been spotted. Keep down.
I'd feel a lot better if we stuck together.
It's just dark enough to show these boys how to play the old Indian game.
Guy out there can... We ain't fighting ordinary people.
Darn right we are. That's Cassidy.
There he is now. All right, I got a head behind that rock.
That's just his head. If I know anything about the way Cassidy operates, he's somewhere else.
Hello there, Wetzel. I'll touch a match to this keg of powder.
Take another look, Cassidy. Sugar won't explode.
This sugar will. I rolled this keg over from the powder house.
Oh, was that unlocked? I didn't have a chance, Wetzel.
You wouldn't touch that off, Cassidy. Not with Martha in the tank.
California.
Yeah, Hoppy, where are you?
You got the girl out of the tank?
All clear.
All right, boys. I'm ready to set a match to this.
Wait a minute, Cassidy. Slim, climb out of the window and get onto that big overhanging branch of the tree. And then when he comes out into the open, drop on him.
Okay, well.
I'm coming out, Cassidy. We give up. We know when we're beaten.
Keep your hands high and no trick.
Good work, Clear.
There. bet it's the first time Cassidy's ever been slugged over the head with his own gun.
I'll go dump him in the tank where the girl was.
No, I don't think it's better.
It'll be easier that way. I put a separate charge under the funnel. When you bring the old man out to set the final charge, that'll go through.
Well, all right, but hurry. That machinery's in motion, and the old man's the only one who knows how to stop it.
Yeah, and he ain't going to. Not after all these months of wanting to set it off.
All right, Joe. Snap into it. Tie those things down.
Why was that machinery started before we're off this mountain? I don't like it.
I know the timing. Let's just keep moving. Now go up to the tower and bring the old man down.
Well, I don't know why it has to be done this way.
Hey, Slim, is that you?
Yeah, it's
You
me.
cover Joe while he goes up to the tower. Cassidy's pal might still be around here.
Where are you going?
I'm getting out of here. There's too much powder on this mountain to suit me.
Why, you dirty
The rest of you aren't worth saving anyway.
You planned it this way. You never meant for us to get away.
Now you're getting the idea.
What a rat you are, Wetzel.
You were never quite quick enough on the draw, were you, Slim?
Tell it, Wetzel, drop that gun.
Huh? Cassidy! Where are you?
Put your hands up and be quick.
Slim! Joe, come and help me.
On Eagle Nest Mountain, the Rainmaker's giant machinery ticks closer to that uncertain moment of explosion.
You up there on that tower. I got you covered.
I give up. Don't shoot.
I'll keep a beat on you till you get Mr. Billington safely down that ladder.
I'm coming. Don't shoot. Harvey. Is that you?
Yeah, I told you I'd make enough noise so you could find me.
Yeah, but where was you for the last 15 minutes?
Taking a nap. See how bad Slim's hurt.
Looks like he's just winged.
Bring him over here and I'll introduce you.
What? Well, all right, Harvey.
How are you, Slim?
Oh, I guess I'm all right, Mr. Cassidy.
You had me worried for a few minutes.
Say, what is this?
This, California, is Mr. Slim Davies, U.S. Deputy Marshal, under whom I've been working.
You mean you knew all the time about this? We came up here to get in trouble?
We came here to stop illegal liquor traffic. And as I suspected, those reward posters were code signals to the runners.
Well, doggone, fooling me that you was coming up here to settle down.
Mr. Cassidy, you're not hurt. I'm so thankful.
You'll be more thankful to see someone else. Look who's coming down that ladder.
Father!
Come on over here, Mr. Billington. And you, Joe, up at your hands and no trick.
I give up, Cassidy.
Oh, Father.
Martha, did you come up to see the climax to all my years of work? Tonight I will see success. My esteemed colleague has just informed me that everything is in readiness.
What do you mean?
The machinery is already in motion, Martha. There's no choice but to go through with it.
I must get to the control room quickly. When the giant wheel reaches the top, the great moment will be at hand.
Mr. Cassidy, isn't there great danger?
Not if you get over beyond that bridge.
What's my father in that control room?
I don't know.
All through the ages, man has sought a way to make it rain. No one has worked any harder than I have. And in a few seconds, the world will have the greatest gift science can give it. Rain.
I'll go in the control room with you, Mr. Billington, if you like.
Delighted, my friend.
But Harvey...
There's a lot of dynamite around here. It's such a risk, Mr. Cassidy.
Hurry up. The rest of you get back.
Right in here, Mr. Cassidy. Now, close that door tightly. Well, I don't believe I have a match.
Here's one.
With the touch of this match, civilization will acclaim...
that you, California?
Yeah, that's me. I mean, this is me.
Mr. Billington is here. He's just dazed, I think. I can't tell in the dark.
Well, don't light no more matches around here. This whole mountain must be gunpowder.
Why, it's starting to rain.
Father, are you hurt badly?
Rain? Did somebody say rain?
My Jiminy, it is starting to sprinkle. I can hear the drops hitting my head.
Do you feel all right, Father?
Feel all right? Well, I'm the happiest man in the world. Can't you hear what these men are saying? It's starting to rain. I've done it. My machine works. Do you hear me? I can make it rain.
Can we help you down the trail, Miss Billington?
Well,
I don't think they better try to walk, Hoppy.
Well, maybe not. California and I'll go ahead and send horses back for you.
Oh, that'll be fine. Meanwhile, I think Father will enjoy just staying right here and feeling the rain on him.
Yes, Martha.
What about you, Slim?
I'm all right, Mr. Cassidy. Well, you certainly helped us clean up a bad case tonight. I'll take charge of our prisoner.
It's still raining, isn't it?
Yes, Mr. Billington. It's really raining.
Oh, I'm so thankful. So thankful.
Well,
Rain.
we better be saying goodbye now.
Goodbye, Mr. Cassidy.
Go on, Hopalong.
Come on, California. Let's get going.
Say, Hoppy.
Yeah?
Wasn't there clouds gathering overhead this afternoon?
Yes.
Then it ain't necessarily the rain machine that started this.
No.
But, on the other hand, it could be.
Yes.
Well, what do you think?
I think we'd better get back to the Bar 20 before you decide to make a rain machine.
Goodbye for now from Hopalong in California. And here's a special invitation to join them next time they ride out from the Bar 20 when, as usual, I have a hunch they'll get into plenty of action that spells trouble. Hopalong Cassidy, starring William Boyd, is transcribed in the West under the direction of Walter White, Jr. Musical direction, Serge Glisson. James Matthews speaking. This is a Commodore production.
Welcome, everyone, to Heartbeat Theater. This is your host, C.P. McGregor, inviting you to be the guest of the Salvation Army for the next half hour. Our star this week is Monty Margetts. When a group of energetic women get together, things usually start happening, as our story this week will prove. Its title, The Remarkable Incident at Whitney Hills, and includes, among other things, a woman with a penchant for finding missing persons and a victim of amnesia, who, by a very human mistake, greatly benefits the community of Whitney Hills. Written for Heartbeat Theater by Christopher Young and starring Monty Margetts, here is Act One of The Remarkable Incident at Whitney Hills.
Wonderful evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Kane. Good night. Good night, Mrs. Norman.
We'll get together next week, Mrs. Norman. What a crowd.
We had 100% turnout.
Oh, it never fails, Major. The Home League meets in that barn of a recreation hall, and we're lucky if half of the girls come. But one meeting in my tiny living room, and not one member has so much as an ingrown toenail that keeps her away.
Come on, I'll help you rearrange things.
I wouldn't think of it.
I never get to sleep right after a meeting anyway. Besides, I want to talk to you.
Well, in that case, you man the cups and saucers, and I'll scrape the plates.
I think I had a brainstorm this evening.
Uh-oh.
Now, what do you mean, uh-oh?
Oh, nothing. Only every time Major Long gets a brainstorm, poor Mrs. J gets calluses on her feet.
Well, your part in this particular brainstorm would be purely voluntary, Mrs. J.
Now, where have I heard that before? Fire away, Major.
Mrs. Henry Cortland.
Our town's new woman of mystery? What about her?
Well, she holds the key to a circle in the Whitney Hills section.
Oh, it's been a long day. You'll have to elaborate. Meanwhile, I'll wash, you dry.
All right. Now, what do we know about Mrs. Cortland?
Why, practically nothing.
And that's the secret of her success in Whitney Hills. She descends out of nowhere. She has enough money to pay cash for the Eberly Mansion, a place that cost so much there wasn't another family even in Whitney Hills who could afford it.
Who have you been talking to?
Mr. Snow, the real estate man who sold it to her. So far as I know, he's the only man in town who's ever seen her. 3 months go by. Mrs. Cortland remains in her castle, politely refusing all invitations, reportedly still mourning over the death of her husband just before she moved to town. Presto, a woman of mystery. Without having met a soul, she's the undisputed ruler of the Whitney Hills clan. She could start a revolution and the rest of the women would follow blindly just to get in her good graces.
Whoa, slow down. You mean you want Mrs. Henry Cortland to organize an auxiliary in Whitney Hills?
Right.
And you want me to approach her?
Yes, but not formally. I'll do that in time. But it'd help so much if I knew a little bit about her personality especially. Oh, this is so important, I don't want to take a chance of muffing it.
What makes you think I won't muff it?
You can go in your official capacity as a journalist. Explain to her that you write a column about the women of our town, and you hope she'll be gracious enough to give you an interview.
Funny, I haven't done that anyway.
Not at all. She's a woman of mystery. No one likes to cross the unknown.
But I'm volunteering.
I knew you would.
Oh, you tricked me into saying that.
I'm drying faster than you're washing.
Major Long, you're always ahead of me. But I wouldn't have it any other way.
Then you'll do it?
Oh, I'll advance and fire as soon as I see the whites of her butler's eyes.
Oh, you're a darling.
I'm out of my mind. Here I worry about my husband driving all over the country on those selling trips. And I'm risking my life for the Salvation Army, right in my own backyard. And don't tell me. It's a good cause, and I know it. Oh, seriously, Major, after hearing some of the reports tonight, I often wonder what the world would be like without the work of the Salvation Army.
Then there would be someone else doing God's work. I think he meant it to be that way.
Which reminds me, I followed up that missing persons description in the war cry, the one I told you about.
Yes?
False, as usual.
Don't give up. You'll realize your ambition someday.
Oh, I'm beginning to wonder. I've been suspecting people of fitting those missing persons descriptions for 14 years and never found one yet.
Well, you just find Mrs. Henry Cortland at home tomorrow, and you may have a whole new hobby.
I feel lucky about that, Major Long. And you know why? I'm washing faster than you're drying. Well, here goes nothing.
Yes?
Oh, hello. I'm Mrs. J. Mrs. Curtis J.
How do you do, Mrs. J.?
Oh, then you must be Mrs. Cortland. Mrs. Henry Cortland?
Well,
I mean, this is the Cortland residence.
Yes it is. Won't you come in?
Well, then, of course you're Mrs. Cortland. Oh, excuse me for seeming so flustered. I expected a butler or someone in a maid's uniform. Well, that is...
Of course. Through here. Into the library, please.
Oh, I hope I'm not interfering.
No, not at all. Matter of fact, I've been quite lonely.
My, what a lovely room.
Yes, I'm very happy here. So many memories back home. Can I offer you something?
Oh, no, thank you. Not a thing.
I'm almost glad you said that. I'm all alone here, and I'd have to leave you while I prepared something.
Alone?
Yes, the chauffeur and butler are winding up some of the Cortland affairs and bringing some personal possessions that couldn't be entrusted to ordinary movers.
Oh, of course.
And my upstairs maid, her mother became ill, so she's visiting her.
And the downstairs maid?
Well, the truth of the matter is I don't have one as yet.
With such a large place, it must be difficult for you, Mrs. Cortland.
Oh, I don't mind. Helps keep me occupied. Pantry and freezer are fully stocked. I could survive indefinitely here. Provided I remember to thaw out the food in time for the next meal.
Mrs. Cortland, I must admit I'm greatly relieved now that I finally met you.
Oh, I dare say there are all sorts of devastating rumors about me.
Well, let's say the community has been anxious to know more about you. You see, I write a column about the women of our town for the local paper. Well, naturally, anyone in Whitney Hills is of particular interest to my readers.
You've shown remarkable restraint in not coming sooner.
Well, I heard of your recent loss. I'm so sorry.
Well, thank you. Of course, I am somewhat at loose ends. You see, I was very active in my husband's business, but I sold out a large part of my interest to partners in the firm. It may have been a mistake, for I have far too much time on my hands now.
Well, I can understand that.
You know, in a way, that's why I'm glad the servants are gone. Actually, I adore keeping home.
But it's been so long since I've had the opportunity. So very long.
Mrs. Cortland, you're making me say something I hadn't planned to.
Please do.
I did come to interview you for my column, but I have something else in mind, too. Mrs. Cortland, are you by any chance familiar with the Women's Auxiliary?
No, I'm afraid not.
It's an activity of the Salvation Army. In a matter of speaking, it's much like a women's club with speakers, programs, and the usual exchange of ideas, fellowship, and things of mutual interest.
Sounds very interesting.
Well, in addition to this, we have projects and do handicraft work, anything that can help the Salvation Army aid those who come to them in need.
Wow, perfectly wonderful.
We think so. It's the kind of group where actually everybody benefits.
I suppose you have to be a member of the Salvation Army to join.
No, membership is completely unrestricted. Well, I'll confess right off, Mrs. Cortland, that what I'm about to propose wasn't my idea originally, although now I wish it had been.
You'd like me to join this auxiliary?
Oh, more than that. You see, the Salvation Army has a wonderful woman in this area, Major Long. Oh, she's a darling, and I know you'd be crazy about her. Well, one of her pet ambitions is to have an auxiliary chapter here in Whitney Hills.
I see. And I think I understand. The town's most influential people live out here. They could be of inestimable help to your projects.
Yes, but at the same time, as Major Long so often said, an auxiliary would be something you and your friends could also benefit from.
You know, I fully agree with your Major Long. The satisfaction of helping others is more rewarding than anything I know.
Oh, we so hoped you'd feel that way. I'm sure Major Long will want to talk to you. But what she'll ask is that you help organize a women's auxiliary here in Whitney Hills.
I see. Yes, I suppose I could have a tea some afternoon. Invite 15 or 20 of the women here. Yes. Yes, why not? This very Saturday, as a matter of fact.
Mrs. Cortland, you're wonderful.
Nonsense.
Major Long and I will give you all the help you'll need. Oh, I'm sure she'll call on you before Saturday.
She'll need to tell me more about this auxiliary and a lot of things.
Well, I'll be running along. I want to tell Major Long the good news right away. Oh, and before I go, Mrs. Cortland, one personal question, if you don't mind.
Anything.
Do you like caviar?
I detest it.
Oh, Mrs. Cortland, we're going to get along just fine. And, of course, I had no intention of mentioning the auxiliary, but she was so warm and receptive, I just found the words coming out.
You did the right thing. I'm afraid that even I was so carried away with this woman of mystery routine, it never occurred to me to make a simple and direct approach.
I told her you'd pay her a call before Saturday and promised we'd both help with the preparations. Can you imagine? Not a single servant in that huge place.
From what you say, I get the feeling she's a woman who can do things for herself.
Oh, you'll like her. You know, she's quite a bit younger than I expected. Why, mid-30s at the most.
Strange. I hadn't the slightest idea what her age was.
Oh, and very attractive. Poor darling, she does have a severe birthmark on her neck just below her ear. She wears her hair to cover it up, but I still couldn't help... Reddish birthmark on neck below ear. 34 years old. 5'2", brunette. Luella Wilburn, that was it.
What in heaven's name are you talking about?
It's amazing. If I didn't know she was Mrs. Henry Cortland, I'd say she was Luella Wilburn. The description fits to a T.
Don't they always, Mrs. J?
You can relax. I have no intention of reporting Mrs. Cortland as a missing person.
Hardly, because it looks like we've just found her. Now, I realize, ladies, no matter how much I may say here this afternoon, many of you will still have questions about the Red Shield Youth Auxiliary. I hope that during the remainder of our get-together, you'll feel free to approach me with them. And now, I feel very privileged to present our gracious hostess, the lovely lady who's made all this possible, Mrs. Henry Cortland.
Thank you so much, Major Long. Oh, goodness, I hardly open my mouth and I get the bell. With no staff here, I hope you'll excuse me a moment.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, and Blackburn.
Yes, ma'am.
I know you must be exhausted, so you take a rest now and we'll unpack tomorrow.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I'll do that.
Oh, hello, Libby. Good to see you.
I didn't expect you for another week.
Oh, I couldn't take another day of it. I told Blackburn and Paul to rest a while. Libby, what on earth are all those women doing in there?
Well, you see,
Hello. I think we thought everybody was here. We would have waited. I'm Major Long. Perhaps Mrs. Cortland here has mentioned me to you.
Mrs. Cortland?
Yes, may I present our hostess, Mrs. Henry Cortland?
If I
don't know what's going on here, but I happen to be Mrs. Henry Cortland.
The curtain falls in the first act of the remarkable incident at Whitney Hills, starring Monty Margetts as Major Long. You know, over the past years, women's groups have become a very real force for good in our country. Among these groups is one which, under the auspices of the Salvation Army, has done a lot of good in our country. This organization, called the Women's Auxiliary of the Salvation Army, undertakes the sponsorship of the Army projects, such as the Booth Memorial Hospital, an emergency lodge, or a youth association, and help secure equipment or better the physical setup of such institutions. Why not investigate the possibilities of Women's Auxiliary in your town? Maybe you already have one, or perhaps there's a need for one you didn't realize before. I'm sure that a little investigation would be well worth your time. Now, Act 2 of the remarkable incident at Whitney Hills with Monty Margetts as Major Long.
May I pour you some more tea, Mrs. Cortland? There's an awful lot of it.
Thank you, no. I'm embarrassed, Major Long, that we had to meet under such awkward circumstances. You know, the town of Whitney and Whitney Hills is my home now, and I hope to live here quietly.
It's a terrible thing I've done to you, Mrs. Cortland. I don't know if I can really explain it.
Well, Libby, I wish you'd try. I don't like to be angry with you. You've been with me 3 years now, and I think we've gotten along beautifully. I've considered you not only a maid, but a friend.
Perhaps it'd be easier for Libby and you too, Mrs. Cortland, if explanations waited until tomorrow.
No, I want to do it now, while you're here too, Major Long. I don't really know where to begin. I suppose it started when I found myself in this beautiful home all alone. No phone calls, no shopping, practically nothing to do. I just started imagining it was my home. I took off my maid's uniform, put on my best dress, and I even slept in your room, Mrs. Cortland.
Libby, I don't know what to say.
And then that nice Mrs. J rang the bell, and she saw me dressed up.
And just assumed that you were Mrs. Cortland.
I don't know what got into me, but I just let her think that's who I was. The feeling of being an important person got to be too much for me, I guess. It was the funniest feeling, though. I felt right stepping into your shoes, Mrs. Cortland. Almost as though I belonged there. One thing led to another, and there I was, planning to use your stationery to invite all those women here. I didn't expect you for another week.
But, Libby, what would you have done then?
I don't know. I didn't even let myself think about that, Mrs. Cortland. Oh, it was a crazy, terrible thing, and I'm very sorry I did it. You don't have to say anything. I'll resign, of course.
Mrs. Cortland, I can't help thinking there wasn't really much harm done by Libby's actions. Embarrassment, yes, certainly, but there was compensation. For a short while, somebody was happy. Happiness for some is a very elusive thing. I think we have to at least be sympathetic when someone goes after it, so long as it does no serious harm to anyone else. Your embarrassment will be forgotten in time, but Libby, who was just radiant earlier today, can never forget the happiness she found just in pretending. Anyway, Mrs. Cortland proved to be very understanding. She refused Libby's resignation and insisted the whole thing be forgotten.
Well, that sure turned out to be a fiasco with a capital F.
Nothing anybody could have foreseen.
I hadn't opened my big mouth that first day I went over there and waited for you.
Nonsense. There wasn't a reason in the world to doubt Libby. Even at the tea, she had all the poise and charm you would have expected from a woman in Mrs. Cortland's position.
Isn't that remarkable when you think about it? If I had to entertain a group like that, I'd fall flat on my face.
Oh, come on now. Were they so different?
No. I'll have to admit I liked everyone I talked to very much. I felt right at home. But we sure can put the idea of a youth auxiliary in the future file. The distant future.
I hate to admit defeat, but what happened is bound to reflect on us. Let me see. I want to write a note to Mrs. Cortland and offer to reimburse her for whatever expenses there were in the way of food.
Good idea. I still can't get over Libby. She was the perfect prototype of a socialite. Charming, gracious, a good conversationalist.
Did you notice she could talk intelligently on almost any subject?
I sure wouldn't want to have her for a maid. She'd give me an inferiority complex.
I suppose, though, she's had ample opportunity in the last 3 years to observe Mrs. Cortland in the role of hostess.
Well, that explains part of it. 3 years. I wonder what she did before that.
Mrs. J., you have a familiar glint in your eye.
I just thought of something I have to attend to. And you know what? This time I'm going to hit the jackpot.
Hello? Mrs. J., where have you been? I haven't seen you in 3 weeks. Oh, not that again. Yes, I'll be here, but who is this that you want me to meet? All right, I'll be surprised. Goodbye.
Major Long, this is Mr. John Wilburn.
How are you, Mr. Wilburn?
Nice meeting you, Major.
Mr. Wilburn is from Maple Grove, which happens to be less than 50 miles from where the Cortlands lived before she moved out here.
Mrs. J., you didn't have Mr. Wilburn come all the way here on a wild goose chase.
We'll see who laughs last this time.
I don't know the situation, Mr. Wilburn, but I feel that I must warn you that Mrs. J. has been determined to spot a missing person for over 14 years.
Begging your pardon, Major, but I know that. And I have every reason to believe that she's finally succeeded.
Really?
I've been married for 10 years. My wife, Luella, lost a baby in childbirth nearly 4 years ago. She wanted that baby desperately, and so did I.
I'm so sorry.
Luella came home, but she wasn't the same. Stayed in her room, refused to see anybody. Then she just disappeared. I wasn't home at the time, just the maid was there, and she didn't even see her leave. I'm fairly well off financially. In addition to the police, I hired private detectives, but they never found her. The doctor suspected amnesia. A few months ago, someone told me that Salvation Army publications carry reports of missing persons, and I solicited their help.
You remember, Major, I told you how perfectly the description fit Libby when we thought she was Mrs. Cortland?
Yes, I suppose I do.
The description is perfect in every detail, Major, especially the birthmark on her neck.
And Libby started working for Mrs. Cortland just about the time she disappeared.
Well, it certainly would explain the ease with which she handled the party that afternoon.
Mrs. J. told me about that, Major, and it does fit Luella. She was a wonderful hostess and a very intelligent woman.
I have to admit, Mrs. J., I guess you did hit the jackpot. But we dare not jump to conclusions, Mr. Wilburn. It could be a coincidence, and the disappointment for you would be terrible.
Oh, it could be, Major, but there's something else. When Luella disappeared, she had on a watch that I gave her, and there was an inscription, to L.W. with love, J.W.
L.W.? Don't you see, Major? Luella Wilburn. Libby Williams.
That sounds possible.
But we need your help now, Major.
Anything, of course.
I don't quite know how to approach her. I'm afraid the sudden sight of me might not be the best thing. Now, if you could call on her, help her to remember, sort of ease her into the idea that she's really Luella Wilburn.
Of course, if she is an amnesia victim, she may know that much about herself.
Yes, she will.
First of all, I'd better call Mrs. Cortland and let her know what the visit will be about.
Good idea. You'll want to be alone with her.
Well, Mr. Wilburn, I can imagine how anxious you must be. I'll call her this very minute. Libby, it's certainly good to see you again.
Well, that's very generous of you after what I did, Major.
Now, I hoped we'd never even mention that again. Libby, I've come on a rather extraordinary errand.
If there's anything I can do to make up for...
No. Nothing like that. Libby, if you don't mind my asking, what did you do before you worked for Mrs. Cortland?
I had similar positions.
In Maple Grove?
Maybe. Why do you ask?
Then you're familiar with Maple Grove. Libby, did you ever know anyone named Luella Wilburn?
Then you know. How did you find out?
You mean, you know you're really Luella Wilburn?
Yes, I know.
Those who were close to you assumed you had amnesia.
They were right, I did. Well, actually, it was after the party a few weeks ago that everything came back to me. I guess it was entertaining again, doing things that were so familiar to me. After you left, I went to my room. I had a frightful headache, but I knew if I worked hard enough, I'd remember who I was. I fell asleep, woke up suddenly. In the quiet of my room, I said aloud, "I'm Luella Wilburn."
But you've done nothing about it in these last few weeks.
I don't know what to do. I lost a baby in childbirth, Major. A baby my husband wanted more than anything in this world. We waited nearly 7 years for that baby. Then I let him down. Oh, I can't see how he could want me anymore. I've just about decided it's best I remain Libby Williams.
Because you think your husband doesn't love you anymore.
I don't see how he could.
I'm very happy to say, Luella, you're wrong. Very wrong. He's done everything in his power these last 3 years to find you.
You know this?
I do. He flew here as soon as he suspected you may be the wife he's been searching for.
John is here?
Yes.
Oh, Major, I'm so happy.
Why don't you go change into that best dress of yours? He's right outside in the car.
Major, I'm frightened.
So is he. Go on now. Get that radiant look I saw the day of the party.
God bless you, Major.
Major, I heard Libby run out. Is it...
You're going to need a new maid, Mrs. Cortland.
Then she is the missing woman?
Yes.
Oh, Major, this is the most thrilling moment I can remember. How wonderful for her. After 3 years to be back with her husband. Wonderful.
Please, Mrs. Cortland, you'll have me crying, too. And I haven't done that since I was a lieutenant.
I have the strangest feeling, Major. One of complete uselessness. After 14 years, I finally located a missing person. And I know it'll never happen again.
Just think of the happiness you brought those two people, and then tell me you feel useless.
Oh, I guess you're right. Oh, I'll miss Libby, or Luella, or... We saw her a total of 3 times and knew her by a different alias each time.
Something occurred to me. This is the first time an auxiliary that didn't even exist had a chance to help someone.
True. I think I'll use that for the lead in my column and send you the clipping.
Come in.
Good morning, Major Long.
Mrs. Cortland.
May I come in?
Certainly.
I'd better be running along.
Oh, not on my account, Mrs. J. As a matter of fact, what I have to say not only isn't private, but I want the world to know.
Well, then I'll stay.
Please sit down, Mrs. Cortland.
Thank you. Major, I was very touched when Luella was reunited with her husband. You see, the event had a personal significance to me. You've heard that I moved here to Whitney to help overcome the grief I felt at the death of my husband. That was a lie. Actually, I ran away because I was humiliated and couldn't face my friends. My husband has money. He doesn't really have to work at all. I think that's his downfall. You see, he drinks. To excess, I'm afraid.
I begin to understand, Mrs. Cortland.
One day, 4 months ago, he left the house in a drunken stupor. He'd done that before, but was never gone more than a day or two. After the 4th day, I started lying to our friends, told them he was on an extended business trip. I couldn't bear to face the humility. At the end of a week, in a fit of rage, I decided to move as far away as possible.
And so you came to Whitney Hills?
Yes. I planned to remain aloof, so I wouldn't have to tell the truth about my marriage. Also, I needed time to know what to do about our problem. I'm a very proud woman, Major. The disgrace was almost more than I could bear. But then, seeing the reunion the other day, I suddenly realized my pride was very false indeed. In spite of everything, I love my husband very much. At first, I felt that he deserted me. But now I realize it's the other way around.
What do you want to do, Mrs. Cortland?
I want to find him, bring him home, here to Whitney Hills. I think the two of us, away from the environment where all our troubles started, the two of us can work things out. I want your help. The police, Missing Persons Bureau, whoever or whatever it is that handles cases like this.
The Salvation Army can usually be a big help in finding someone who's an excessive drinker.
Then you will help, Major?
Of course. I may need to call on you for some details, but I think I can take most of the burden off your hands. Besides, we have a dedicated and experienced assistant in Mrs. J here.
I'll contact our Missing Persons Bureau for you right away.
You're both as wonderful as Libby said. And that brings up another thing. Libby was telling me the details of the auxiliary you were planning. You know, in a way, I'm responsible for its failure to be organized. While you're helping me find my husband, will you please tell me what to do so that I can start a Red Shield Youth Auxiliary?
So ends the final act of the remarkable incident at Whitney Hills with Monty Margetts as Major Long. Be sure and stay tuned to this station next week at the same time for another Heartbeat Theater story. Heartbeat Theater is a presentation of the Salvation Army. Until next week, this is your host, C.P. McGregor, saying thanks for listening, and have a happy week ahead.
Heartbeat Theater has come to you through the worldwide facilities of the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
This podcast is proud to be part of the Blueberry Network. That's blueberrywithnoease.com.
Hello, this is Clyde J. Kell, and thank you for downloading the Mystery Play Internet Radio podcast. And now, are you ready for Scary Old Time Radio?
In the annals of the strange and the incredible, death has always played a significant role. For it is inevitable that the great mystery which has intrigued men's minds since the beginning of time should itself be surrounded by countless minor mysteries. Of all of these, none is more curious, none more difficult to explain than the tantalizing story of Geoffrey de Rossier's mirror.
Geoffrey de Rossier was dying. He lay in a ward at the War Memorial Hospital in Sault Ste. Marie. His nurse, Adeline Knoop, hovering near his bed, knew that the end could not be far off. Indeed, she thought that consciousness had already slipped away. But then, to her astonishment, Geoffrey de Rossier opened his eyes, and his lips moved feebly.
A mirror. Bring me a mirror.
Hastening to obey what was unquestionably his last wish, Nurse Knoop found the mirror and brought it to him. It was just an ordinary mirror, a rectangular piece of glass without a frame. He took it in his trembling hands and held it before his face.
Madame, I'm dying.
Nurse Snoop and 3 other occupants of the ward heard that wild, frantic cry. They saw him throw the mirror down on the steel table that stood beside his bed. But it did not break. It lay where it had fallen, and Geoffrey DeRosier slumped weakly back on his pillows. But before he lost consciousness completely, DeRosier murmured one final mysterious statement, and every person in the room heard it.
That mirror, you won't be able to pick it up.
Later that morning, when the body of Geoffrey DeRosier had been removed, Nurse Snoop assisted in preparing the bed for a new patient. And then the mirror, still lying on the table, caught her eye. She bent to pick it up. A moment later, her face suddenly white, she hurried out of the room and summoned an intern who was passing in the corridor.
Please,
when she told him her story, he followed her to the bed, chuckling with amusement.
I want to show it to you.
Relax, nurse. I don't think I'd be too upset about this.
But I tell you, it won't budge.
You've heard of an E-Day fix, haven't you? The late patient planted the idea in your mind, and it stayed there, that's all. He said you wouldn't be able to pick up the mirror, and lo and behold, you can't pick it up.
Let's see you pick it up.
Good Lord. For some strange reason, it stuck to the table.
And it remained stuck for 24 hours. During that time, practically every doctor and nurse on the floor tried to move it. And throughout that whole day and night, there was scarcely a person in the War Memorial Hospital who was not recalling, with a shudder, those strange last words of Geoffrey DeRosier. The following morning, Nurse Adeline Knoop came back on duty. Her first act, when she entered the ward, was to approach the bedside table. The occupants of the other beds watched attentively as she made one final effort to remove the mirror.
I just touched it. Oh, it flew high in the air.
After that, the mirror was carefully examined. No chemical or adhesive substance was found, either on it or on the surface of the table. Efforts were made to force it to re-adhere to the table, but they were unsuccessful. It still remains a mystery. A mystery incredible, but true.
Good evening. We sincerely hope that you'll be able to stay still long enough to hear tonight's story. But then again, perhaps you won't have much choice in the matter. The play, by John Graham, is called Buried Alive.
He comes forth like a flower and is cut down. His days are short and full of woe. Inasmuch as it pleases the Almighty God to take to himself this soul of our brother here departed, we therefore commit his body to the elements.
Keep it up. Good work, Rose. What a performance.
Earth to earth, dust to dust, ashes to ashes.
What gibberish.
In certain hope of the resurrection to eternal life.
Well, thanks for the hope, friend.
Through our Lord Jesus.
But who needs it? Once again, illusion has triumphed over the senses. They've buried me alive. Nobody but the great Santini to go into such a deep trance. Like a mask of death. Getting the death certificate was easier than paying a phone bill. What do they teach you in medical school these days? funny cat and mouse stuff, waiting for the body to turn up. It's nailed in his coffin. Or so they'll think. Oh, yes, the insurance company will have to pay. And my poor, bereaved widow, she'll just have to console herself with $500,000. Until she is found mysteriously murdered. And penniless. Well, they can't blame a murder on someone who's already dead, can they? Oh, poor Rose. Yeah, it's too bad. She's losing her looks. Speaking of Rose, I wonder what time it is. She should be along soon with that idiot Phil to dig me up. Yeah. In the dark, the fluorescent dial of his watch is almost blinding. Let's see. Only an hour left. And then I'll hear Rose's soft, innocent voice over the intercom.
No, stop that. Not here.
Why not, Rose? I want you.
Not in Santini's bed.
Forget him, Rose. He's as good as dead. That oxygen cylinder won't last more than 24 hours.
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, why not? He's dying, and I couldn't be happier. The way he treated us. Clowns in that two-bit dirty hypnotism show of his. Well, now he's the clown, and nothing's bad enough for him.
I'm sorry, but he was my husband.
Yes, he was.
You're right. He had it coming to him.
We don't have to hide our feelings anymore. And besides, with all that insurance money, we're free. I love you, Rose.
Oh, Phil.
We don't have to be afraid again, Rose. You love me, don't you?
Of course.
Then forget Santini.
You're good for me, Phil.
Come over here.
Damn rifle body. Get me out. Get me out. I feel like I'm being crushed. No, wait a minute. Calm down, Santini. Calm down. Don't burn up the oxygen. What time is it? Rana was late. How can she be so stupid? Well, she'll learn quick enough when I get out. No, she couldn't. Double-cross me? Oh, not Rose. I mean, she doesn't have the nerve. Maybe the intercom's broken. They came, but they couldn't get it to work. I'll check it. The intercom works. I have been double-crossed. She's going to leave me here. No, I'll just push your coffin lid up. That's it. Just push it up. Come on. Once more. A little harder. The lid's moving. No, it's not moving. It's not moving. I've gone crazy. Of course, it's not moving. It's not going to move. The coffin's got 6 feet of earth on top of it. The oxygen will be running out. I've heard what happens to trapped men who slowly suffocate. The nausea tortures them until they rip out their own throats. My own throat. Rose! Rose, you bitch! I'll get you. You're not going to leave me here. I'll get you!
Rose, wake up.
Go away.
Wake up.
Oh. Phil. Oh, Phil.
Hey, it was only a dream. There. Bad one, eh?
I saw him. He was out of the grave. His arms were around me.
Take it easy. You've had a rough day, but it's all over now.
I was in love with him.
Forget him, Rose.
I remember when we met. I tried to fight him, but he kept drawing me back.
Rose,
I was young and naive, but so happy in my lavender dress.
Go to sleep.
No. I've got to go and make sure he's still there.
You can't be serious. Why can't you wait till morning?
Now.
But it's late.
I'm going now. Are you coming or not?
Well, let's just leave it alone. It's done and over with. Leave it alone.
You're afraid.
No, I'm just not going. I don't want anything more to do with him.
I'm on my own then?
Suit yourself. But, Rose, be careful. It's dark out there tonight.
Everything is here. Santini? Are you there?
What the hell do you think? Where have you been, damn it? Everything's going according to plan, isn't it? Well, say something.
Santini.
What is going on?
We're not going to go through with it.
What the hell are you talking about?
We're going to leave you there.
Rose.
Goodbye, Santini.
No.
Goodbye.
Rose, please. Now, wait. Just at least talk to me, Rose.
What's there to talk about?
What's there to talk about? For God's sake, why are you doing this to me?
I'm in love with Phil.
In love with Phil?
Yeah.
Phil the clown?
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Don't you laugh. He's good to me.
Oh, sure.
Hey, now, he makes me feel important.
That wimp. You're in love with him? Come on, Rose, you're not serious.
Even now, you make me feel stupid.
Oh, okay. All right, listen, Rose. Look, I didn't mean it. Now, I've always liked Phil, yes. It's just that I love you so much.
Lies. Don't say anything. When you seduced my little sister, you said you loved me. No, that was supposed to be enough.
That's all over now, Rose. I only did those things because I wanted your forgiveness. I loved you. Selfishly, I don't guess. But only because I was afraid of losing you.
Don't talk nonsense. It won't change anything.
Look, if you want to leave me, I won't stop you. You can take the money. Just get me out of here.
And trust you? Why should I? Goodbye, Santini. Goodbye.
One more thing.
What is it?
A letter.
What?
It tells all, Rose, everything.
What?
I left it with a good friend. He's going to open it. If I don't call him in the next little while, he's going to open it. Then they'll come and get me.
What?
And then we'll be together again, Rose. In jail. Won't that be lovely? All three of us together again. Except it'll be worse for you. Murderer.
Murderer? After the living hell you put me through?
Rose, listen to me. I love you, Rose.
Sleep well, old friend. Damn it, he's got us again.
It could be a bluff.
I'm not going to rot in jail. I mean, even if we do let him go, we'll still have the money.
What are you talking about? If we let him go, he'll kill us both. You know that, don't you?
Yes. No, I don't know what to think. I can't stand it. He's down there dying, and we're going to get caught. It's not working. It's just not working.
Look, just stop and think for a minute. What friends does he have?
Santini? Friends? Certainly no one he could trust.
Huh?
Maybe it was a bluff.
Of course it was. Imagine him asking someone to wait for him to return from the dead. How can he expect anyone to do something like that?
You know, you're right. It's just more of his nonsense. He's made a fool of me again.
Hey, forget it, Rose. We're safe.
No, that's not enough.
What do you mean?
He tried to make a fool of me. He's going to die with us loving and laughing in his ears. Come on. We're going to make love in that graveyard.
No, I can't do that. I can't.
What's wrong with you? What are you so afraid of?
I'm still afraid of him, damn it. You would be too if you knew it was good for you.
Why are you such a wimp? Go alone. I want to see that louse bacon suffer. I want to see him die 1,000 deaths. Good night.
Be careful. He can be very persuasive.
Come on, God. You just give me a chance. I'm offering 50%. I'm talking 50% of the gross. And this scam is just the start. I mean, last year in Philly, we were pulling in $10,000 a week. You figure it out. It's not too hard to take, huh? Just let me get out of here. Come on, God. I'm on your side now, I swear. What time is it? Taking her own sweet time about it. Phil probably wet his pants. Where is that silly woman?
Hello, Santini.
Rose. Rose, good for you. I knew you'd figure it out.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, what the hell? It's all behind us now. I keep the money if you want. Well, most of it. I just need enough to buy off my friend with the letter, you understand?
What letter?
The letter... What letter? The letter. Don't play games with me.
You didn't really think I was going to buy that, did you?
So you think you're ahead, eh? What do you want?
I thought you might like to hear about me and Phil.
You and Phil?
Yeah. Some nights he wakes me up, 5, 6 times.
Terrific.
I got so I can't think of anything else. From one sweet, sweet moment to the next. I'm sort of warm and hazy all the time.
I'm not interested, Rose.
Better than anything we ever had. That's for sure.
I don't want to hear this. I'm going to switch out the intercom.
You do, and you'll never hear another human voice again.
You bitch.
It all started one lousy drunk night in Munich. The show was a flop. You couldn't hypnotize anyone. They were too drunk. So you joined them. You got drunk, too, and mean. Threw me and Phil out in the rain.
Rose.
What a night. A couple has to be very inventive to keep up their interest in a rain ditch. Especially beside a tent of singing drunks.
Is this some kind of joke?
Yeah.
You really must hate me, Rose.
Yeah, I do.
It hasn't always been this way, you know. There were good times.
I can't think of any.
Naples. Just after we were married. Remember, Rose?
Yeah, just after they threw you in jail for that seance fraud. Oh, I remember it all right.
On the Mediterranean. How blue it seemed. You, in your summer dress.
The lavender one.
Yes, and that funny Greek.
Oh, the one who sang all the time. Spiros.
It's not so long ago. Is it, Rose?
Goodbye, Santini.
One last thing.
What?
Listen. Tomorrow morning, early. Come and watch the sun rise over the water. Just like we did when we were happy.
What's in it for you?
It's all I need to take with me, Rose. An image of you in the fresh morning light.
I gotta go.
Too much to ask? Say you'll come.
Yeah, we'll see. I gotta go.
Rose, you'll come.
I gotta go. I said we'll see. Goodbye.
You'll come. I got you now.
Good morning. Sleep well?
Yes, Rose. And you?
No, as a matter of fact. Well, I'm here.
Relax.
But I haven't got time to waste.
What's the lake look like, Rose?
The lake? Still there?
Sunrise shining across. It's pretty, isn't it?
Nice enough.
Restful.
Yeah.
Very restful.
Very restful.
Just like Naples, Rose.
Yeah. Like Naples.
All the time in the world, Naples.
All the time in the world.
You want to be back there so much it hurts you to think about it. Yet you do think about it.
All the time in the world.
Keep on looking at the sunrise on the water. You're back there now, aren't you, Rose?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
What's happening in your life?
I'm 17. I just fallen in love with an exciting man.
Yes.
Oh, he's handsome. So handsome. He knows everything.
What's his name, Rose?
Santini.
Why do you love him?
I don't know. I can't help it. The other girls at the convent are mad with jealousy. I can't think of anything else.
Are you happy?
I'm so happy I could burst.
Rose. Rose, when I count 3, you will wake up. You will remember only the good feelings you have now. Forget all our trouble, all our meanness, all our selfishness. Do you understand, Rose?
Yes, I understand.
Good. 1, 2, 3.
What have I done? What? Oh, good God. Santini, forgive me. I'll be right back. I'll get you out. I'll get you out right away. Don't worry.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all, Rosie.
Okay. It's free now. Push it open. Push it open. That's it. It's opening. Push harder.
Treasure.
Oh, Santini. I'm sorry. I don't know how it happened.
Get away from me. I can't breathe.
Of course, I'm sorry. You're not mad at me, are you?
No, mad. No, Rose, of course not, darling. Come here, let me hold you. Oh, why would I be mad at you, my love? Oh, Rose, let me look at you. Oh, look into my eyes, Rose. That's it. Just relax. Relax, Rose. Feeling drowsy?
Drowsy.
Yes.
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 All the time in the world, Rose.
All the time in the world.
To just relax, Rose. Relax. And lie down. Right in here. That grave looks like it's never been touched. That's a nice view of the lake from here. Rose. How do you feel now, Rose?
I'm happy. So happy.
Glad to hear it, Rose. When I count to 3, you'll wake up. 1, 2, 3.
I can't breathe. Getting out. Cindy! Help me!
What a lovely day. A lovely day for a funeral.
Just heard Buried Alive by John Graham. Featured in tonight's cast were Don Franks as Santini, Lally Cadeau as Rose, and John Stocker as Phil, with Frank Perry as the minister. Our recording engineer is Ray Folsick, with sound effects by Matt Wilcott. The script editor is Earl Toppings, with the production assistance of Doris Buchanan. Tonight's play was produced and directed by Paul Mills, and the coordinating producer for Nightfall is Bill Howell. And now, here's a final word from your host.
Hello again. On next week's Nightfall, we have a change of pace for you. One that we hope you'll be able to keep up with.
Gary?
What?
Stop walking for a minute.
Why?
I want to try something.
What?
Just stand still. Okay?
Well, where are you going? Now, come back, Peggy.
No, hold it. Stay where you are. Don't move. There you are.
What are you up to? You walked up the road and back, so what?
Didn't you notice?
Notice what? You disappeared in the mist.
No. Gary, there was no noise, not a sound. I walked up the road and back and didn't make one single sound.
Last Visit, a new play by Ray Will, starring Nani Griffin, Frank Perry, and Gerard Parks. Next week on Nightfall. Until then, careful of the edge.
To the men, living and dead, who did these things, we dedicate this program, The Dam Busters, presented by the author himself, Paul Brickhill, dramatized by Morris West, an Australasian radio production.
Good evening. This is Paul Brickhill. Leonard Cheshire had been idolized by 617 Squadron, both air crews and ground crews. They felt their squadron was unique, and it was only fitting that it should have an outstanding officer as CO. Cheshire had fitted perfectly the tradition of Guy Gibson and Mickey Martin. In some ways, he had surpassed both of them. But now he was to go.
Well, Cheshire, how do you feel about it?
Do you want me to argue with you, sir?
It wouldn't do you much good if you did.
Well, in that case, sir, I can tell you I'm rather glad of it.
Browndorf?
Oh, no, sir. I feel as though I could carry on for quite some time, but... Well, I know I'll be unsettled, rather lost when I leave the squadron. But still, deep down, I'm glad of it. I suppose I'm still a coward at heart.
No, my dear chap, you're an honest man. And that's a rare thing in this crazy world.
Would you like me to go now, sir?
No. The tea's coming in a minute. We may as well stay and chat.
Oh, thanks. I was just wondering what I'd do with myself.
How's your wife, by the way?
Very well.
Is she pleased?
Very. She may get sick of it once she has me home for a while.
And how did the other boys take it? Shannon, McCarthy, and Munro.
Oh, there was the usual binding. But underneath it, they were very glad. They've been like a trio of sandboys ever since.
They've been at it solidly for 2 years now. And they're still only boys.
Not any longer. That's the thing that worries me, Vanessa. What's going to happen to those chaps after the war?
You know, I often think about that myself, Cheshire. I often wonder what we've done to them. You know, we've trained them for years as efficient means of destruction. We've shown them death and desolation. Then one day we say, well, thank you very much. There's your deferred pay. There are all your citations. There's the record of the nation's gratitude. Well, goodbye and be damned to you.
Well, it can't be like that, sir.
I know it mustn't be, but we haven't had time to do anything about it. Now, take those boys of yours, for instance. What we should be doing with them now is giving them some kind of retraining to fit them for civilian life. We can't, of course. We haven't the organization. And we don't even know what civilian life will be like. If the present rate of destruction continues, we may all be living underground.
Yes, it's a big problem, sir. I've been thinking about it a lot. I'd like to believe that after the war there'll be enough men like you to help those chaps.
So, my dear chap, we turn back to the job in hand. More destruction, more death.
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to shoot my mouth off like that.
It probably does us both good, Cheshire. To look to the future, I mean.
Who's taking over the squadron, sir?
It's Willie Tate. Do you know him?
I've heard of him, sir. I don't know much about him. What's his record?
All bombies. He's 26 and has 2 DSOs and a DFC. He's a black Welshman.
Has he got a sense of humor?
I don't know. Why do you ask?
Oh, in 617 he'll probably need it.
I don't like this, boys. I don't like it one little bit.
What don't you like?
The new bloke, of course. Look at him up there at the bar. Looks like the original Rock of Ages. He's been propped up there at the bar for the last half hour. He hasn't said a word.
Perhaps he doesn't want to talk.
Not very sociable. The only time he's opened his mouth is to put his pipe in it.
Give him a break, old boy. Perhaps he's just shy.
Well, perhaps he doesn't like us. Perhaps he thinks we're a lot of roughnecks.
Which we are.
Which we are, I agree. But he doesn't have to underline it in red ink, does he? I wonder what he's like in the air.
The gongs say he's pretty good.
Gongs. We've all got them. That doesn't mean a damn thing.
Hello, Tate, old man. Do you mind if I join you?
Why, no. Glad to have you. What are you drinking?
A beer, thanks.
Another beer, Stewart.
I'll be moving off in a day or two. Don't think I'm hanging around, will you?
No, I don't. It's rather nice to see a friendly face.
I say, look here, are the boys worrying you?
No, on the contrary,
I think I'm worrying them.
Oh, I doubt that. I think we all get a bit old womanish after we've been on one station too long. Once you've done your first operation with them, they'll loosen up then.
Yes, I hope so. I say, give me a bit of advice.
Oh, surely, if I can, yes.
You know, I've brought two of my own boys with me, Cockshot and Iverson.
Oh, Cockshot, yes. I've met them. They're good boys.
I don't want to promote them over the 617 boys. Whom would you recommend for flight commander?
Well, actually, I'd rather not recommend anyone. I tell you what, you tell me your own choice, and I'll give you a line on it.
Well, I've thought of Falk.
Falk? He's a good boy. You couldn't do better.
Good. I'll put him up tomorrow. Now, tell me something about these tall boys of Wallace's.
Well, they're designed for a specific job. Deep penetration with a transmitted earthquake shock.
I see.
They're a wonderful weapon, but they throw a pretty heavy burden on the men who deliver them.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Also, they're so complicated to make that we can't waste them. Everyone's got to be on target, or at best, a very near miss.
That throws it back on the marker.
That's right. By the way, are you going to mark yourself?
Naturally. I'm going to mark myself.
Are you going to use the Mustang?
I wanted to ask you about that.
Well, I've found it tricky at first, but once you get used to it, there's nothing better for the job. The trouble is, of course, you're flying solo, and you've got to be everything rolled into one. Navigator, gunner, bomb aimer.
Sounds quite an assignment.
Oh, yes, it is. But not too big for a Welshman.
Thanks. I'll take it up tomorrow and try and get used to it. Now, chaps. The weather's breaking. It looks as if we'll be on our way this afternoon. This is the first time we'll be flying together. I don't suppose you'll like that any more than I will.
I don't know about that.
However, I'll do the best I can to bring us home safely.
Who's going to mark for us?
I'll be marking in the Mustang.
The Mustang? Ah, well, I see.
Falk will be following with his Mosquito to see if he can bag some photographs. I think we'd both like to see that they were just as good as under the previous command. Well, that's all, chaps. Take off time, 1500, unless the...
Unless the weather doesn't hold.
This is leader marker calling all aircraft. Leader marker calling all aircraft. I am approaching the target now. There are broken clouds and there is thick haze on the ground. Also, there's a lot of flak coming up. I'm going in now to drop the markers. Then I'll take another look from 4,000. Wait on my report. Over. This is leader. This is leader. I am at 4,000 now. The markers are on target, but you haven't got a hope of seeing them from 18,000. Even from here, you can hardly recognize them. Over. This is Kearns, leader. We're waiting on your bombing orders. Over. This is leader calling Kearns and all aircraft. These are your orders. I am going down to 1,000. Repeat, 1,000. I shall make a short circuit directly over the target. You will aim at me. Repeat, you will aim at me. Over.
Crazy, Skipper. It's running suicide.
You can't do what I say. Over. This is lead up. You will do as you're told, Kearns. All other aircraft do the same. I shall be directly over target. Aim at me. Over. Said he's crazy as a coot, but we've got to do it. Aim at the Mustang. Can you see him? He's coming up now. Left of it. Left. Left. Steady. Bomb's gone.
There you are, Skipper. Little beauties. 5 direct hits and half a dozen very near misses.
I didn't believe it possible. Well, what's the latest on the casualties?
3 aircraft badly hit, but they're all home. 1 bomb jettisoned, 1 gunner killed by flak.
Now, let me have his personal details. I'll write to his people. Now, come in.
Oh, am I interrupting?
Oh, no, it's all right. Come in.
Oh, I won't stay, Skipper. The boys are all in the mess. They want to know if you'll come and have a beer. They figure... Oh, hell. I want to say you've earned it.
In that first raid, Tate won the confidence of his crews, and before many more raids had passed, every member of the squadron was acclaiming him a worthy successor to Gibson, Martin, and Cheshire. Most of these raids were against the rocket sites, which Hitler had fondly imagined to be impregnable, and the damage done to them was immense. When the Allied armies moved beyond their perimeter and captured some of the former bombing targets, Barnes Wallis was sent to France to inspect the work of his earthquake bombs.
I tell you, Harris, it was utterly fantastic. I just couldn't believe the evidence of my own eyes. Look, Cochrane, I brought back some notes and some photographs. Now, this one is from Watton.
Good grief. It's unbelievable.
As you see, the bombs pierced directly through the roof and completely destroyed the installations inside.
That was one of Cheshire's first jobs, wasn't it, Cockham?
Yes, that's right. What's this one, Wallis?
That? Oh, that's Bizerne.
I remember that one very well. Caused us a lot of trouble.
Nothing like the trouble you caused them, apparently. I calculated that big dome on top weighed nearly 10,000 tons. This is what happened to it. The dome was knocked completely off its foundations, the launching tunnels had all caved in, and behind those there was a maze of galleries, living quarters and storehouses. They are all blocked by landfalls.
Yes, I can't help thinking of the poor devils who got it down there.
Yes, I saw some of that. It wasn't pretty. Now, this one is the big storage caves at Cray. Actually, they were just a series of galleries in a huge chalk hill. The bombs were right on target. They bored down straight through the center of the hill and, well, then the hill collapsed.
Oh, staggering, Wallis, quite staggering. Tell me, what's this one?
Which? Oh, That, I think, is the most spectacular one of all. That's at, let me see now. What on earth's the name of the place? Oh, yes, Mimoyek.
Oh, yes, I remember that. It's such an odd name. We couldn't figure out what was there. We didn't think they were rockets.
They weren't rockets either. They were fabulously huge guns. Yes, guns. They were to fire the B-3 on London. One of the engineers chappies told me that each of those guns could have delivered 600 tons of explosive a day on London. Now look what happened to them. One of the bombs ripped off the whole side of the concrete and blocked the left-hand gun shaft. The right-hand shaft was completely collapsed by a near miss, and down further, right down, you can't see it on the photograph, it's about 500 feet down, there were 300 men living and working. 500 feet down. Think of that.
And what happened to them?
They're still there, my dear chap. They'll stay there till Judgment Day.
Yeah. You want to see any more of those, Crocky?
No, thanks, not for the moment. I'll get some copies and study them.
Yeah, good idea. Oh, I've got something to show you, Wallace.
Oh, have you? Something interesting, I hope.
Yeah, we think so.
Oh? Well, what are these?
Those are the new U-boat pens.
Ah.
Hamburg, Bremen, Imogen.
What's the scale of these photographs?
Oh, hundredths of an inch.
That makes each of those pens about, say, 300 feet square, 70 feet high.
That's near enough, I should think.
Indications are that as a result of the destruction on the rocket sites, the Germans are pushing ahead to strengthen those pens. You think your tall boys could cope with them?
Well, Look, I don't want an argument about this. I seem to have had too many arguments in my lifetime. The fact is that in spite of the good work they did, some of my tall boys actually broke up on the concrete.
The rest of them seem to have done well enough.
Well enough isn't really good enough, you know. These U-boat pens are much bigger than the rocket sites, so they'll need something bigger to deal with them.
And, something about what size?
About, 10-tonner. You know I've been suggesting a 10-tonner for some time now, and I believe the Lancaster has been developed enough to carry it to Germany.
You're an obstinate blighter, Wallace.
Oh, am I?
Here, Mr. Wallace, I told you once that you could sell me a pink elephant. This time you've sold me your 10-tonner.
Oh. You know, Harris, this is the most satisfying day I've had for quite a long time.
Right-o, chaps. Right, quiet, chaps.
Break it down.
Right-o. And your target for tonight, chaps, is here. The U-boat pens at Brest.
Happy days, brothers. Happy days.
What's wrong with it?
Have you seen the flak reports?
Flak reports?
Well, that's a pleasure in store for you. Tell 'em, Skipper, tell 'em.
Right-o, quiet, fellas. Well, it's fairly obvious that the Germans are on their last legs. And the U-boats represent the last offensive weapon left to them. It's the only way they've got of striking at the reinforcement convoys. So, they've switched their heaviest flak defenses to the place where the U-boats are housed and refitted. Now, that's our job tonight.
Captain to crew, this is getting sticky. Stand by to pull me out if I get... what the relations? We're hit, Skipper. We're hit. I know. Tell me what gives.
Well, just a minute, Skipper.
I'll try to sort it out. Our starboard outer's on fire. Yes, I know. I'll deal with it. Lost shell exploded in the Bombay. Navigator and Wappy are hit. They've lost their mast, skipper. Get her down. Okay, going down. Alrighty, thing's riddled with holes. Look, the fire's spreading on the wing. I'm sorry. It's no go. Bail out. I can't drag the boys clear. I'll need a hand. Right. I'll see if I can trim her. Then I'll come back to you. Hang on. Hey, Skipper. Give me a hand with Jack, will you? He can't speak. Right. Can you understand me, Jack? Jack. Good man. Now, hook your finger into the ripcord. That's the idea. We'll just have to push you out. Okay? Right, laddie. Out you go. She's diving, Skipper, diving. Just a minute, I'll be right back. Are you all right, boy? All right. Hook your finger in the cord. Now, you know the drill. Yeah. I know. Give him a heave, Skipper. Right. Good luck, boy. Your turn next. Okay, Skipper. Wish me luck.
Well, that's the tally, sir. Cheney and 2 others are back. We lost 3. They were pretty badly wounded. They wouldn't last long in the North Sea.
No, I suppose not.
It was hard to assess the results, sir. There was so much smoke around.
The results were eminently satisfactory, Ted. By the way, have you seen Cheshire?
Yes, sir. He was in the mess, as a matter of fact. I understood you wanted him, so I brought him down with me.
Oh, good. Well, send him in to be like a good chap, will you?
You, wanted to see me, sir?
Yes. I do, as a matter of fact.
Sir, have you got an appointment for me yet? I'm getting awfully tired of waiting around.
Well, I have one appointment for you. Unfortunately, it's of, a rather temporary nature.
Temporary nature?
Yes.
Well, what is it, sir?
On a day to be fixed, you're to go to Buckingham Palace.
Is this some sort of a joke, sir?
No, Cheshire. It isn't. I'm instructed to inform you that His Majesty has been pleased to confer on you the Victoria Cross.
The VC, sir. But I... What have I done, sir?
The citation's a very long one, Cheshire. It comments on the fact that the Victoria Cross is usually won in a moment of exalted heroism. In your case, it has been awarded for 4 years of conspicuous gallantry far beyond the call of duty. Would you like me to read the citation to you?
Well, I don't think I could take that just now, sir. Well, it's not me, you know. It isn't really fair that... Well, they're all the boys. I
think that in your case, Cheshire, the boys would award it to you themselves. Now, would you like to stroll back to the mess and I'll make a formal announcement?
Well, I'd rather you didn't do that, sir. Not just at the moment, anyway.
Just as you like, of course. Would you mind telling me, why not?
Well, the chaps took a hammering last night. Well, it might be a little out of place.
If you don't mind, Cheshire, I think we might leave that to the boys themselves.
Thank you for joining us this evening for the 14 July 2024 broadcast of Sunday Night with Old Time Radio. 3 hours of old time radio, classic radio from the golden age of radio, with a few exceptions. We have occasionally a modern production. We hope you always feel welcome to come and join us every Sunday night from 8 to 11 Central Time. Until next time, sleep tight and sweet dreams. This is a production of Lobato Studios, Sao Paulo, Brazil.